Hi, I'm Stephen Feinberg, Executive Director of the Rhode Island Film and Television Office. Tonight I am so honored to have the most outstanding casting directors in the country with us tonight. We're talking Angela Peri and Lisa Lobel of Boston Casting and Rhode Island Casting. Some of their films are movies you know about: Knives Out, Equalizer, The Holdovers, just to name a few. Welcome to Double Feature. Welcome home to Rhode Island.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
You guys, you just won what, Golden Globe for The Holdovers?
Yes.
Yeah, two acting awards.
2 acting awards. You're casting directors. It's what you do. And I have to tell you, the one time I was jealous, was a couple of years ago when the movie Coda came out. And it was the last film I had seen before the Oscars. I'm getting chills as I talk about it. And I said, I wish that movie was made in Rhode Island. It was so well done. And
Thank you.
your casting on that. You won a Best Supporting Actor.
Won an Oscar.
And that's
Best
what I'm saying.
Picture.
Yes,
Yeah.
Best
And
Picture.
Best Picture, but Best Supporting Actor.
Yes.
You discovered people.
So many people. We had to find so many people in the deaf community for that film. Just like Sound of Metal, Lisa had to find so many people that were in the deaf community, and it just elevated the business once again, because here we are now, the experts.
Yes.
Yes.
It was interesting because even though they didn't come out at the same time, Sound of Metal and Coda, we prepped them at the same time.
Wow.
So at the same time, we were immersed in deaf culture, deaf actors, learning ASL, bringing in interpreters to our sessions, and it was
It's an adventure,
exciting.
right?
Yeah.
It's an adventure.
And every project you have is a different adventure. Now, you're both members of the Casting Society of America. You've won awards. Those are, what are they called? The awards that...
Artios.
Artios
Which
Awards.
is the Latin word for perfect fit. Because that's what we do.
Yes.
We create these films that we put the actors in that are the perfect fit.
Now, let me ask you each about yourselves and how you get started. I know you founded Boston Casting in 1991. And Lisa, you came aboard, what, 1996 or so?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to ask each of you, how did you get started in casting and film? And was it something you always wanted to do as a child?
Well, it's a funny story. Poor Lisa's heard it a million times, but I will tell it again for the Rhode Island viewers. I wanted to be an actress, and I couldn't find any work because I had a horrible Boston accent, which I still sort of have. But now I've embraced it.
Not horrible.
I thought you were from Texas.
It's not horrible.
So I decided to go into stand-up comedy, and then I was really smart and industrious as a young person, and I thought, ooh, I'm going to go where they're dishing out the work. So I started interning for casting companies, and I did it here in Boston, I did it in Los Angeles, I did it in all places of Rome, Italy. I was helping my agent in Rome cast some commercials. And then I just came home and I decided, I wanted to either open a restaurant, and I didn't have enough money for that. So I decided, well, I know how to do casting. So I opened up Boston Casting, and that's how it started.
Wow. And
When I turned 30 years old, because I was just... being an actor is so tough. It's
very
just
tough.
a hustle that you just never know where the next dollar is coming from. And I was tired of that, and I decided I was good at casting, and I decided I wanted to become an entrepreneur.
When were you in Los Angeles?
80s. In the 80s, I was
That's
at
when
the
I was
Comedy
there.
Store. I was at the Comedy Store as a stand-up comedian. I did comedy when Ellen DeGeneres, Jeannie Garofalo, and
Yes.
Dennis Leary, we all started at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah, it was really a crazy time.
Yes.
85.
Yeah, I was hanging
Wow.
out there too. not as I never wanted to be a comedian,
Yeah.
but I remember like Andrew Dice Clay
Yes.
was coming out,
Yes.
and the Wayans brothers, Damon Wayans,
Right.
and those guys. Yeah, wow. And what about you, Lisa? What was your
So
background?
I was a preschool teacher after college, and then I met my husband who worked in production, and he and Angela were actually working on a student film together. We were all so young, and with
James
James
Gandolfini.
Gandolfini,
Oh, wow.
a BU student film who. Before James Gandolfini was James Gandolfini.
And this is in Massachusetts?
Yes.
Yeah,
we
BU
put him in his
student
first
film.
film.
What was he doing in Massachusetts?
He came to be
On
in
the
the student
train.
film.
Yeah,
Came
and he
from New
slept
York.
on a friend's couch.
Wow.
It was Randy Newman's son's film.
Yeah.
And
Tornado Lane.
Yeah. No, but the dads were very big filmmakers,
Right.
and so they had money to make this film. Anyway, I thought it was interesting. Angela and I met. We got along. And I was kind of looking for the next thing. And she got on a big movie and said, do you want to join me doing thousands of extras, casting thousands of extras? And I did it. And I just loved it. I felt like there was so much we could do with this business together. And,
You had a chemistry together?
Yes.
29 years later, I mean, it's still, we're just still going strong.
That's fabulous. I like you. When I looked at your website and I saw how many folks you have working with you, that's a pretty large agency, and you should be very proud of yourself.
Thank you.
You're really expanding and branching out and doing so many wonderful things. Let's talk about casting, and there's different productions, right? You've got your Hollywood productions, you have your independent films. Do you love doing the Hollywood shows? Yes, they pay well. You know those films are going to get made because the funding is there. You have an opportunity to shine, right, and do that. But what about the independent films? How are now those? You get a fee up front to cast a film, and then you work on it for X amount of time. And how do you manage about doing independent films and studio films, as an example?
Well, I would say that we take every project, we put the same amount of love and attention
what I was
into it.
gonna say.
Whether it's a small featurette, an indie,
Like
or,
Coda, like
well,
Coda.
Coda,
was a
exactly.
tiny indie,
Coda
yeah.
was a tiny indie. Coda, I always say, is the chugga chugga film, the little train that could. She had so many obstacles, poor Sean Heder, and she overcame them all, and it went all the way. Won Sundance, won the Oscars. It was incredible, and to be part of that was just so wonderful for us. But yes, obviously the feature films, the big budget stuff is so exciting.
Right.
Because then we're up for RTOS awards and
Yeah, but I think part of the key to our success has been that we take every project as if it was, the holdovers, Coda, whatever. Every project is so interesting and different and creative, and they all deserve the same, our same expertise, and we really give them all the same.
Yeah. Now, if I'm a filmmaker, let's say I'm a filmmaker, and let's say I don't have a cast, and I'm trying to get a budget together, would I come to you guys and say, you guys are more like, you have to have your money in place.
bingo.
Yeah.
Come to us when you have the money. We're not holding your hand. No, we can't get Ben Affleck for your movie. Sorry. We get that all the time.
Right.
Hi, can you call John Krasinski for us? No, sorry, we can't.
Right.
You
Well,
know?
that's important for the audience to know. You guys you're not there to try to get financing for a film. You're not there. You are there to say, the funding is in place, the movie's a go, or hopefully a go.
We already have this actor attached,
Yeah.
and that's when we.
That's when you guys come in.
Yeah.
So you're not always going to get the top actor as an example?
The top actors in our region. We are the casting directors for New England. So Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Vermont, Connecticut. We will find you the best actors within that community so that you do not have to fly anyone in, you do not have to take a train to come in or to be put up.
So when you're doing a movie like Ted, you did Ted.
Yeah.
1 and 2.
Very sad movie, very made me cry. So funny, so funny.
The TV series is
I can't
coming
wait.
out now.
I can't wait. Seth
and we worked with Sheila because she called us because we had to find some Boston guys for her.
Good.
Even
So-
though they shot it in LA.
Right. So Seth, having gone to RISD, and he was inspired and did the Ted. So when you're doing Ted as an example, they know that they've got the voice of Seth to play Ted, and they've got some of their people that they got out of LA or New York, and then you guys come and round it out.
Everything else.
Yeah.
We do, there's usually 4 to 6 actors that come from LA, and then we do everything else.
Yeah.
We do like anywhere from 20 to 65 speaking roles and anywhere from 1,000 to 4,000 extras, non-speaking roles.
Wow, that's a lot of
It's a
work.
lot.
Yeah.
We put a lot of people to work. Not that we're their employer, we're not the employer, but we're the middleman.
You're right, right.
We're the middleman. Get yourselves in our database. Where's the camera? Get yourselves in our database. Get yourself in the database, and you too could be in a movie.
Right.
You know, it's
Can I saw an obituary the other day, and I didn't know the person, but I'm reading about the obituary. You know, what one of their highlights was
They were in a movie.
they were in a movie, and
and it was in the obituary.
Yeah.
it was in the obituary.
So proud
that
of
was
that.
something that was a highlight for them, that they were in a movie, and I was choked up because
Yeah.
that was something new.
It gets run of the mill for us, but
Right.
sometimes we forget
When
what
you
that it means.
when I was talking to my late grandmother, and I asked her about her life, she was 95, very clear-headed, and I said, "Oma, what do you remember?" She said, she started talking about the trips she took and the loves of her life. And you think about, for some people, being in a movie is very unique, and that is like going on a special vacation. So what you do isn't just for the story, but you could be changing a person's perspective on life, which is kind of neat.
True. And
Very
then
nice.
also the young people that we find that go on to be huge movie stars.
Well, look, you said James
John
Gandolfini.
Krasinski.
James Gandolfini, we put
Yeah.
him in his first movie. John Krasinski, we put him in a Dunkin' Donuts commercial.
Commercial.
Wow.
Matt and Ben, I
Who
knew
he went to
them.
Brown. He's a local.
Oh,
he went to
right.
Brown.
Matt and Ben, we've known them. I've known
Matt who? Ben who?
Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. We met Ben when he was like 8.
Wasn't he doing PBS
Yeah,
or something?
he was doing PBS, Voyage of the Mimi, when he was 8. And then Matt, he'd be like, "Hey, can I bring my
Buddy?
to the audition?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And the 2 goofballs would walk in. It's been a really quite a career. It's
Yeah.
been quite a career. We're so fortunate, so fortunate.
When you get a script like you just mentioned, you're getting a script, like let's say Knives Out, right? You've got a film like Knives Out. So you're getting the script, just to explain to the audience, you get a script. You have to highlight who the characters are, right? And you have to do a breakdown of each character. And then you will have in your database, will you have people in particular that you think are right for it, for the experiences that you've had in meeting people? Or will you say, all right, I've got these 10 or 15 people I think might be right for it, but then I'm going to go to the database? Or how do you work
Interesting.
it?
I wonder if we do it the same way. I start fresh every time. I go in fresh. I don't take old lists. I don't, we have this great searchable database that everyone can get in there. It's free.
Yep.
And we just start looking at the age ranges, ethnicities, anything that the character might,
Right.
and then you kind of weed it down, right? So you get a big list, and then you kind of cut down. I don't typically take old lists. I like to go in fresh every time
yeah.
with a brand new outlook of that character.
Do you?
I do it from my brain.
Okay.
I do it because, and usually the first person I think of usually gets the job. Then I go into the database. But I like to use my
Absorb,
brain as
right.
a sponge and just squeeze out, all right, who do I think can play the bartender? Oh,
Yeah.
boom, boom, boom. boom, 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 and I list the characters. Then I go in the database.
Do you guys powwow?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So you say,
kidding?
you say, all right, let's go through
Yep.
our list. Let's go and talk about this Johnny. Who do you have?
Yes.
Who do you
Oh,
have
yeah.
for Johnny?
Yeah, we'll take the whole staff.
The whole
and
staff.
do
We have a
that.
giant dry erase board, and we take like 6 or 8 casting directors in the room, and it's like a power hour.
Yep.
Where like this, I needed a drug addict for Kevin can F himself, and I brought these guys in, but nobody had that danger.
Edge.
You know, you had to
Yeah.
have that edge and that danger. And then Hillary, one of our casting directors, thought of a guy, and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
I didn't think, right.
Because a lot of times we're working independently on different things. So we'll say, oh, I saw, 2 shows ago, I saw this kid. I didn't know him before, but you should really see him for
Right.
that.
It's funny because I saw, I forget the name of the movie, it was a sci-fi movie. I think Danny DeVito was a producer on, and it was the first time I had seen Jude Law.
Oh, wow.
And I remember going, who's that guy?
Yeah, it's
Right.
amazing.
And Mike Fenton had cast that film, and it ended up becoming
Yeah.
Jude Law.
Yeah.
Mike Fenton was my first audition when I was in Los Angeles.
At 20th Century Fox?
Yep, and I walked in, my friend and I walked
What
in.
movie?
I don't know, it was just a meet and greet.
Yep.
And we walked in, we were both in white, and he goes, look, 2 Italian angels. It was so amazing. But then I think my accent threw him off because I never heard from him.
It was a treat working with him. I mean, he had Stanley Kubrick calling up.
Yeah.
He had Steven Spielberg.
They brought him out in a wheelchair at one of our Artios Awards.
Yeah.
Mike in a
Probably
wheelchair?
Getting a lifetime award.
Achievement Award, maybe like 5 years ago.
Yeah,
And has
he
since
passed away.
passed, yeah.
Mike was a runner. He used to run all the time.
He did?
Yeah, he was a runner. Totally great shape. And he and Frank Marshall, Steven Spielberg, Kathy Kennedy, and Frank So Mike and Frank would run every Saturday together.
Really?
But Mike was, like I said, he was the first president of the Casting Society of America.
And, go ahead.
And he did Chinatown, Godfather 2, E.T., Raiders of the Lost Ark. He discovered like people like Nick Cage, and I was doing the videotaping of them. They would come in. Meg Ryan would come in.
my
All these,
God.
they were all new.
Right. And he also created CastNet, it was called. It was the first online database for actors. And he did that in the early 90s, about the same time that we did it.
Yeah. But I remember, we would used to get in pictures all the time. Are people still doing their professional pictures?
Because the director needs it. So like we're working with James L. Brooks this week, and all the actors had to bring in their headshot and resume.
Okay.
So he could read, and he actually read them. He said to Michael Costello, oh, you've been in LA for a while. It was really nice that he was reading the resumes.
Right. So the audience knows we have a movie called Ella McKay that James L. Brooks wrote Mary Tyler Moore's show, Taxi, created Taxi. He wrote and directed As Good as It Gets, Broadcast News.
Legend.
Huh?
Legend.
Yeah. And
He's a legend.
Terms of Endearment, and executive produces The Simpsons. And he's now in Rhode Island directing this new movie with Woody Harrelson and Jamie Lee Curtis and Albert Brooks and
We sign an NDA, so we can't
You
speak
didn't
about
say it.
I know.
I can. Actually, it is it's
in the
in
trades.
Variety.
It's
Yeah.
in the
Whatever.
trades.
Okay.
It's in Variety, so that's fine.
You didn't
But
hear it
he's I call him legend when I see him. He's spry as can be. Can you talk a little bit about? So your process is you go through the, you get the script separate. Do you talk to the director for? Tell me how you're approached originally on a project.
We usually just get a random phone call.
From the production
Or,
company?
sometimes director, producer,
I think
people
it's
we've worked with in the past.
Yes, our reputation,
It's
it
word of
precedes
mouth.
us.
And
Yes.
sometimes it's a casting director from LA. So it might be an LA casting director, it might be a director, it might be a producer, it might be a friend of a producer that we work with, a referral.
Yeah.
And then we start getting a little bit of info. Then we do a meeting.
Then we get a breakdown from the director, and then we have a meeting with the director to make sure that we're going in the right direction.
You're on the same page.
We don't want to waste our time. Like, I had a movie with David O. Russell and the plumber. So I bring in all my plumbers. And he goes, did anybody tell you that the plumber is Haitian? And I was like, oh my God, nobody told me the plumber is Haitian. So for those, you have to have the director approve what we're working on, because we don't want to waste our time. We have so much, we have like sometimes 6, 8 movies at a time going on. And commercials.
In your time, right? So like on a project like Ellen McKay that you're going to be, that you're doing now, how much lead time do you have? The film starts
6 weeks.
Most movies 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
And
And that
the first
gives
shoot day.
and that gives you enough time to cast everybody. And extras. How much do you have to go through other approvals? Like when you're getting extras, because everybody wants to be an extra, right? So do you have to go through approvals? Like do some directors work differently with you than others? Where the
Some pick every single one. Some need boards ahead of time with every face on it, and they handpick exactly who's going to be in there. Sometimes that starts at the beginning, and then they start thinking, okay, they get it.
Right.
Now they can start sending
We're on the
people.
same week.
Yeah, I don't blame them. I mean, there's a lot of money on the line, a lot,
But
at stake.
Yeah.
We had one director that had all of the extras line up in rows with numbers on the floor, and they had to stand on their number, and then he went through each row and would pick people. Yeah, that was kind of crazy. I don't want to say who it was.
I kind of think I might know, but I might not know.
I'll tell you after.
Okay. Tell me about working on The Equalizer.
Oh, Todd Black, those producers, I love them. So we did Equalizer 1, Equalizer 2, Antoine Fuqua. They were here during the marathon bombing. It was crazy, but we still went ahead and had our callbacks. I would show him 1 or 2 people, 1 or 2 actors he would call in, and he would just hire. And I would
Antoine Fuqua?
I'd say, you don't want to see more? And he goes, no, I asked you for a plus-size ethnic woman, and that's exactly what you brought me, so I'm going to pick one. And I'll never forget it. I was like, wow, that was easy. He was wonderful to work with. And we did Equalizer 1 here and Equalizer 2. And then
Italy.
they went to Italy because the tax incentive in Rome, 40%. And they changed the whole script so that it was set in Europe. Because we can't, we can make Boston look like Paris. I don't know if you can make Rhode Island look like Europe.
We made Rhode Island look like Rome.
You did?
Yeah, we did a movie called The Polka King
Right.
with Jack Black.
I love The Polka King.
Yes,
Jackie Flynn was in that.
Yes, and we turned our state house into the Vatican.
That's what we did too.
Jenny Slate.
We turned our state house into Paris, the back of the state house
nice.
for Pink Panther 2.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but Equalizer is a great franchise. I'm sure there'll be number 4. I stay in contact with
love
those
those.
producers. They're
Well,
so
Todd
wonderful.
Black helped me sell one of my first projects.
He did?
Yeah, I did a movie called Fortress, and Todd was working for a gentleman named Joe Wazan at the time, and then he was the one to send it over to 20th Century Fox, and we sold it.
You need to shoot him an email today and say his name came up.
I will. I haven't spoken to him
He's
in
wonderful.
years, but his company's
Wonderful.
Escape Artists.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love their.
He did Mo Rainey's Black Bottom. That
so
movie
good.
was so fantastic and didn't get the acclaim it should have. but
Yep.
Wonderful.
What is the favorite part of the process for you as a casting director?
Finding diamonds. Finding diamonds. That's what I say to the staff. We're diamond mining. We found a diamond yesterday.
Did you?
We found a diamond yesterday, a 5-year-old. Boom. Took direction right on his cue. Could emote sadness. He was unbelievable. 5 years old. So when they say that people have a natural ability
Yes.
for acting, it does exist.
Yes.
It does exist. You know who else had that? Jennifer Lawrence. David O. Russell used to say, I don't think she ever had an acting class. Or maybe she did one or two, but she was a natural.
Well, it's like-
there are people in this world that are a natural ability to perform.
Yeah.
And I saw one yesterday. We found a diamond. Jennifer Lawrence was a diamond. John Krasinski, a diamond.
Henry
Those
Thomas,
kids-
when he did E.T.,
Yeah,
and Mike was
unbelievable.
doing that, and everybody's crying, and
Right,
Yeah.
right.
you're hired.
What's your favorite part?
I love, this has evolved for me, but now I love the beginning. I love that feeling of like
New project?
reading the director. Yeah, like when Alexander Payne came in with the holdover script and he only had Paul Giamatti and he came in by himself. Like, do you think we can do this? You know, and you're just like, I don't know. You know, and every
I haven't
time
seen it. I'm
I
looking forward
still
to
get
seeing it.
nervous every time going, how am I going to do this? How are we going to do this? Oh my God. And then we do it. And like, it's just, you know, I love that. I love that.
Tell Steve the story of Sound of Metal.
The meeting.
Yeah, the meeting. Tell him the story.
Like we said, we get a call, then we get a meeting.
Yeah.
So we meet with the director, came to our place, we put out the coffee and the donuts and do the whole, you know, dog and
Host,
pony
yeah.
show hosting and all of our work and chatting with him and great meeting. And Darius Martyr is his name. And he said, great, I love you guys. I think this is good. You know, we're good to go. I'm going to hire you guys. Thanks, great. Starts walking out and he said, oh, by the way, just so you know, every actor you're going to be casting will be deaf.
And we were like,
Yeah, like at that point had never met a deaf person. And we just nod and say,
and then
"No
he
problem."
says,
Oh, and then Jen is a very important role. She's going to be deaf. She's going to be gay. She needs to be very funny.
a comedian.
Yes.
And we were like,
we're
okay.
Wow, that's
and
a
Lisa
very-
found
We
them.
got her.
Lisa
Yeah, we found her.
her.
She
So,
was
so
amazing.
he
Amazing.
made sure that every actor was
Every
deaf. They
single
couldn't
one.
act deaf. They
No,
had to be
no.
deaf. That the actor had to be gay, couldn't act gay, had to be gay, and a comedian.
And a comedian, stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
We found her.
We'll say like LGBTQ encouraged to
Right.
audition. You know, we wouldn't like cut it like
Right.
that, but you've got to portray it believably.
How long did it take? How many role parts were there for that?
About
For the
25?
deaf, yeah, I mean the main deaf cast like in the house was probably like 7 or 8. Then we had the whole school with lots of kids, also all deaf. I don't know the numbers offhand, but
But how long did it take you to? You only had 6 weeks
6
again.
weeks.
Yeah,
we-
6 weeks. We have our timeline down. We've been doing this for so long.
Right.
We have our timeline down. Like I know, like within 5 days, like how
it's
we
going.
have to push it.
Yeah.
And then luckily we have a huge staff where we call it the war room. How's that for a Boston accent? And everybody goes into the war room and we just get 6 or 7 casting directors to help us.
And we start with the big roles. So that way, if those are hard, you know, the
One-liners.
smaller roles are going to be easy, right? A lot of actors can do those. So we start with the big ones that are very important, that the director is going to have a lot of vision on, a lot
Right.
of opinion on, and we take those first, you know, 4, 5, 6 of those, and then you know that that's working, and you're still working as you can. It's like a wave.
Right.
Then you start going into the next roles, but if that's going to take more time, you always want to start that
Are
first.
you videotaping these actors?
Callbacks, yes.
So an actor will come in first time,
First
No,
time
first
they do
time
it at
self-tape.
home now. They
self-tape, and they send those to you. And you're looking at them, and you guys are in your war room. You're saying, "Oh, look, this is." When do you share that with the director?
We
a few days
yeah,
later.
yeah.
So you share their self.
There's this
the
new
self-tape.
SAG.
We
there's
do
a-
rounds of casting, so I think directors expect tapes from us once or
Twice
twice
a
a
week.
week.
Yep.
And for different roles, and then we wait for feedback. You know, if they say, "Oh, this is looking too young," you
It's
know,
another
go-
thing about our office is we're swift.
Yeah.
We get it done.
Yeah.
We do not mess around, and that's been part of our sterling reputation.
How many? If I have if there's a role, the role of Jack, and he's 45 years old, whatever. So how many will you submit to me as a director? Like how much culling will you do?
Depends. I think it depends on the director. Some love to see tons and tons.
Like
and
what?
some
Like when
to
you say
see
tons
less.
and tons.
4 to 8.
Okay, not 20. Right.
We'll send it out to 45 actors. 30 will, 27 will submit, and out of that 27, we send 4 to 8.
But
right?
we might send more the next round. We start with little chunks because the director can get overwhelmed and they have a million other things
Right.
happening, right? Location, they're so we like to give them just what they need at the
Chunks,
time.
little chunks.
So it might be 4 to 6. Then the next week, if we don't cast, we do more. We do more. We do more.
So if that role of Jack, let's say, and you have, let's say, maybe 20 people in your head that you think might be good, but and you have a favorite. Let's say you have do you have a favorite like often?
No, I have the top 5 to 8 actors in this community that I know can do anything. You?
I like to let it run its course. Like
Yes.
I try, and
Like my grandmother used to say, they'd say, "Who's your favorite?" She said, "I don't have any favorites. I love yous all the same." And that's how I feel about the actors. Like, how could you have a
well,
Right.
favorite?
it's also an art. Like you're making, like if you're the director, this is your piece of art.
Right,
You know?
correct.
So what my favorite is, or Angela's favorite, you've probably been working on this for years.
Right.
So I love to let it be organic and not give opinions too much right away, or let the art kind of
So let
find
me
itself.
ask you something. Let's say I wrote a project, right, that I'm going to direct. And let's say I thought, man, I wish Jack Nicholson was available and 60 years old, 65 years old. Would I share that with you as a
Oh, yeah.
director and say, you know who I would want? I
Right.
want Jack. I would
All
wish
the
Jack
time.
Nicholson is 65 years old. That's the guy. And
Right.
if you read the dialogue, it's like he's saying it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the best.
Yeah.
I'll push directors to say, please be as descriptive as you can.
Yep.
Age, ethnicity, economics, everything about this character that you can tell me, because that will allow me to go in and find you exactly what you need.
And then sometimes they change their mind of the vision. They start seeing tapes and seeing actors, and then they say,
Oh, wow,
this is not what I was thinking at all, but I'm going to turn a direction here and
Because
and
you
do
brought me some
this."
magic.
Yeah, something magical that maybe wasn't what they had asked for, but we saw something in it.
Yeah.
That was worth.
Are there, so you've dealt with a lot of different directors. Oh my,
Oh my God.
everybody, like whether it's a Ben Affleck directing or whether it's a David O. Russell directing. Now you're dealing with James L. Brooks. What's the director who did Knives Out?
Oh, Ryan Johnson.
Ryan
Please, I had a sit down with him, and I was just so in awe. I was almost shaking. I was just writing everything he said. It was really amazing.
Talk about it.
Right, it was really quick. It was for, it wasn't for Knives Out. Him and Bam, they came for something else. I forget what movie it was, but
Before Knives
yeah, after Knives Out maybe, or maybe
He
before.
did Knives Out too. He did that sequel.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that wasn't here.
No.
But yeah, it's pretty amazing. And we've worked also for, I always get Ryan Murphy and then Ryan Johnson. Is that him? The American Horror Stories?
That's Ryan Murphy.
Yeah, that's Ryan Murphy. Yeah.
Right.
But then who's the Ryan that did Knives Out?
Ryan
Johnson.
Johnson.
John
You got it
Johnson.
right.
Yeah, I
Yes.
get those two confused all the time.
Yeah.
We've worked for both. We did a couple of episodes of American Horror Story that was shot in Provincetown.
Yep.
Yep.
And,
And we had to find, what are the girls the performers that go back? Contortionists.
Yes.
To play some sort of demon.
Demonic,
Yeah.
right? Demonic. And you work with On Measure of a Man locally. That was a
Yes.
film with Donald Sutherland.
Yes.
You did Nosferatu for
Yes.
AMC. That was AMC.
Right, and we had to find demon children.
Yes.
So I was like, because we're moms,
Yeah,
so
not
we're trying
horror
not.
genre.
We try to really prep all the parents. Like, listen, we're putting bangs in your kid, and if your kid's gonna not be able to handle this, you need to let us know.
Right.
And then we just got the moms that were like, no, my kid loves this stuff. And we're like, okay.
It was Christmas Land. The little
Christmas
vampires.
Land, remember?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
What about? And you also worked on Bleed for This, the Vinnie Paz movie, Miles Teller.
Can I talk about Believe for
Yes,
this? Because that
please.
was like, thank you, Chad Verdi. Chad Verdi,
such a
woohoo!
great
Bringing
film.
all the work to Rhode Island. Thank you very much. So Bleed for This. Now, of course, I'm Italian American.
Right.
I have all brothers and cousins. We were big Vinnie Paz fans because he's my age.
Yep.
So when I came, I was so excited to meet with him because I had to recreate his entourage. So as I did in The Fighter, when I had to recreate that family,
Yep.
we had to go and meet the sisters, which was another story. So when I came to meet Vinnie's entourage, they said, we're gonna take you out to lunch. Come and meet us. We're going to Federal Hill. I said, okay, never been there. Red, white, and green down the street. So we go to the restaurant. They all the Italian guys ordered scungile. Now, I haven't heard that word since my grandmother died. Scungile is eel. And they used to hit the eel over the head, skin it, cut it up and fry it, and put it on top of salad. Hilarious. I was like, you guys were all eating scungile. Like, it's so old world Italian.
Right.
I didn't even think there were restaurants that still served scungile. But I really got into his trainer and his
Kevin Rooney.
And his cornermen.
Yep.
No, well, who was the old Italian guy that trained him?
Well, Angelo was his father.
Angelo was his father. Now that's another story. So Chad wanted. Here is the thing. Let me tell you. Karen Hines. And I was so against it. I said, how dare you? We're going to have an Irish guy from
Danny
Ireland.
Aiello would have been perfect.
I was so against having an Irish guy play an Italian, and I must say, Chad Verdi, I was wrong. You were right. That guy was so fantastic in that role.
Chad had asked me about him.
Was so fantastic in that role. The whole cast. That role launched Miles.
Yep.
I feel like I know the drumming movie was good for him, but that movie was great. I can't talk enough about this movie. The opening scene with them walking into the ring, and his girlfriend's there all dressed with her Louis Vuitton shoes, and boom, she falls down. She trips her. It's hilarious. But to cast that film, that's one of obviously my.
I grew up.
fortes.
So Vinny and I grew up together.
You did?
Yeah. So we used to go to basketball on Saturdays. I must have been 10, and there would be a fight in the locker room. Who's fighting? Because you're on the court shooting, and there's a fight in the locker. It was Vinny.
Oh yeah.
Then he and I were on the same baseball team. So we grew up together.
Oh my God, how is he?
I haven't talked to him in probably about 3
I
years.
saw him at Nicky Verano had a party, and I saw him there. That had to be like 5 or 6 years ago. Handsome guy. What a guy. What a heart like a lion.
Yep.
A heart like a lion. And I'm so glad that his film got made. I wish it had a better, more distribution, because I feel like it was a film that everybody should see.
Yeah.
So again, it's called Bleed for This. Miles Teller. Filmed all 100% in Rhode Island.
And Karen and Hines, I remember Chad asking me about him, and I had seen him in Munich.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
And I said, he is a fabulous actor.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I always thought Danny Aiello would have been a great Angelo.
Yeah,
because,
right.
But I really like Kieran and
No,
Hines.
he had that.
He's a great actor.
He had the lines in his face that showed like history, and I can't say enough great things about that.
He can do a lot of. He is so great. If you haven't seen Munich, he's unbelievable in that too. So what about American Hustle?
Those are my David O. Russell. American Hustle, Joy. What else was it? There were 3. Oh, The Fighter. So David O. Russell came here, did 3 films, and he was wonderful to work with. Really tough, but I learned so much as a casting director through his vision.
Like what? What were you
Like
doing?
he just had, he would say things like about casting. You know, he'd call me at 2 o'clock in the morning to talk about the cast and crazy stuff. Like he was totally committed, passionate about each character, and you see his work, and it just amazes me that that we didn't win an Oscar. We did for best, and I saw clips of it the other night. What's his name? That did The Fighter, that played the lead in The Fighter. I get with Mark. Oh God, Christian Bale.
Christian Bale.
He was so unbelievable, and he won Best Actor for The Fighter. But I learned a lot about casting from David O. Russell, about how to dig deeper. And that's why I always say to directors, tell me more about this character. What were their parents like? Like, what kind, did they have a college education? Like, I want to know that stuff because the blue collar is different than white collar people. And just things like that that make us better.
Do you find that, what's your take on rehearsals? Some directors rehearse, some directors don't rehearse.
I find, and I don't mean to, no. I find, for me, what I learned as a casting director, when the actors are in the room, I don't rehearse, because usually the first take's the best take.
Yeah.
For me, anyway.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
And
Unless
then,
you meant before the shoot with
Yes,
the...
before the shoot.
Right. That's kind of, we're already done by
You're
then.
done,
Yeah,
right.
we put our cast, we do all the contracts.
When you're doing the
And then
contracts,
we're done.
are you putting in the contracts time for rehearsal?
we don't do that. We just do a deal. We just do a simple deal. They do that in
Production.
Hollywood.
The contracts,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
contracts. Because it's interesting, like Steven Spielberg is somebody who does not like to rehearse.
Mm-hmm.
He said he used to rehearse, and then when it came time to shoot, he would lose that mojo.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes
That's
that
what
lightning.
you're saying.
Now, James L. Brooks is someone who does love to rehearse. Another director like Sidney Lumet, who did films like Dog Day Afternoon or those kinds of films, he loved to
Yeah.
rehearse.
Alexander Payne did a lot of rehearsing.
Did he?
With the holdovers, yeah.
And I guess, especially if you're doing a smaller budgeted film
Yeah.
sometime.
Each day really matters, and you can't waste time.
Right. What about any advice you would give to some young or not just actors?
We have a lot to say about that.
Please,
Yeah.
please share.
I guess, you know, I feel like actors often second guess themselves, right? Oh, I didn't get the part because I did something wrong with my audition. And then they call, what happened? I was terrible. And I think just know that you're part of the process. You know, if we invited you and you auditioned, it's because you're good enough. We wanted you to audition. For whatever reason, maybe you look too much like the lead. Maybe the whole character got cut or it got changed. You'll never know. Half the time we never know either. It just is what it is. So just know that you're putting your best foot forward. We asked you, we invited you. We know you're good enough. And then you leave it, you leave it there.
We have to be honest too that it's sometimes challenging for actors to make a regular living, right? And not everybody's going to be Matt Damon and make millions of dollars, etc.
Yeah.
So
and just practice. You know,
Right.
you just have to practice every chance you
I
can.
have a theory on it that I think that actors, this is what I actually teach a class about this. You have to change your mindset. You have to now turn it into a small business. And guess what? You're the product. You are now an entrepreneur. You have entered show business. It's called business for a reason. Treat it like a business. It isn't because my mother said I'm pretty, my grandmother said I'm a good dancer. Forget it.
right.
You have to write down every day where you looked for auditions. You have to keep a book or keep
How
it on
did I
your phone.
move my life forward?
Yes, how do I move?
How am I gonna get better?
Your goals? What classes are you taking? What classes have you not taken? Do the casting directors know who you are? And just networking. Yes, it's a business, so you have to treat it like a business. And when they take out the emotional part of it, like they didn't like me, forget it.
Yeah.
Then you become successful.
You have to. My friend said you have to have a
Thick skin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Teflon skin. Or whatever.
And sometimes you're bringing something. Like we sit with directors as we're auditioning actors, and we see they get sparked by things, or they, you know, your take on the character is part of the process. You know, you're coming in, you're doing it a certain way, and it's all part of those early days.
Right.
You know, when you have nothing and these characters are getting developed, and you just have to know that you're contributing.
Right.
And
You're an original.
and that's
Well, I think you guys are originals.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you both so very much taking time out of your crazy busy schedules. And I want to thank you both for being on Double Feature and really bringing so much professionalism to the community. And it means a lot. And thank you for your friendship.
yeah.
May I have a closing?
Yes, ma'am.
Please go to boston/RhodeIslandCasting.com. Put your picture up there. It's free. Put all your special skills and any acting that you've done, because we want to know you, because we want to put you in a
Movie.
Thank you.